morning. Welcome to my second little video for yoga today. I thought we would concentrate on getting into the shoulders and maybe the upper back and neck a little bit. Again, if you've been working from home, there might be a little bit of slouching, and maybe you're just watching Netflix and you're slouching too, or maybe it just feels really good to get into the shoulders. This should be a shorter video today, and we'll see how it goes. Sounds good? Awesome. Again, I'm Emily. Thanks so much for joining me today. So, props for today. I'm sitting up on one of these blocks. Again, if you don't have blocks, you could use books or phone books if that's a thing anymore. I also really love using these chip foam blocks for kneeling. Helps take compression or pressure off of the knees. And then the other thing that you're going to need today is a strap. So any old strap will do. If you have a yoga strap, all the better. If not, you could use a belt. As long as it's wide enough, you end up having arms quite wide. For those of you who do lifting, it'll be like your snatch grip. Or you could use a broom handle or something like that. So go ahead and pause the video if you want and go get all of the stuff that you need, and then come on back and join me. So now that we have everything, just put it off to the side, and we will start with just a little bit of breathing. I'm going to prop up my knee. You can sit however you would like to, whether your legs are crossed, have legs outstretched. You might sit up on your shins or on a bolster or a block. And for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, let it all go. A couple more, just like that. And then allow your breath to settle. At any point, if you want to let one of those big sort of over dramatic sighs out, it's a really good way to trick your brain into letting your body relax a little bit more. There was a study done a few years ago about these sighs, and what it does is it tricks the brain into releasing, into flushing cortisol, the stress hormone, out of your system. So, a few more breaths here, slow and sweet. And in particular today, as you're breathing, I'd like to note, or like you to notice, the shoulders and the chest and the upper back, and just see how they feel while you're breathing. You might notice the gentle rise and fall of the belly or even your chest. Maybe you feel like you're a little bit rounded through the shoulders, in which case maybe you wrap them onto the back. You don't have to have a hard squeeze, but just a little lift, a little up and down of the shoulder blades. Last few breaths here. Gently start to flicker your eyelids open. Bring a little bit of movement back to the body. Stretch it out, whatever you need to do to wake up the body. And then remove any props out from underneath of you that you might be sitting up on. And then bring your right shin forward and your left shin out to the side. So kind of like a 1990 or sort of like a mermaid position with the legs. And then with your block, maybe you bring it underneath your right forearm, or you could be up on your hands, or you don't even have to use a chip foam block. And as you inhale, now start to sweep the left arm forward, opening up to the sky, and then exhale down and across the legs again. Inhale, up and exhale down. So a few of these windmills or sort of opening movements, and it might feel good to pause somewhere. Oh, that feels really good through the armpit or through the chest or shoulders. You know, our poor armpits, we throw deodorant on them and then try to hide them, but there's so many muscles and muscle attachments through there. It can feel really good to open up into that space. Last couple breaths on this side, moving or in stillness. And then slowly press yourself back up. We'll switch right away to the opposite side. Left shin comes forward, right shin out to the side. And again, you might be up on your hand or on a forearm or your forearm on the block. And then start to sweep that right arm. And one side can always feel so different to the other side. So go slowly. Notice if there's any clicking. I've got a lot of clicking today. Right, just notice, because there's probably a little bit less movement, particularly through the arms these days, than we might normally get when we're out of the house. Again, maybe it feels good to pause somewhere that really opens through the chest, through the shoulders. You know your body better than I do, so go where you need to go. A few more breaths just to explore this range of movement. And slowly, gently, press yourself back up again. Sweep the legs forward. Shake them out a little bit. You can do a little windshield wiper of the knees. And then come forward onto hands and knees. I'm going to go sideways for you. But take your time transitioning. Eventually coming to knees underneath hips. Toes can be tucked or untucked. You know, fix your clothes if you need to. And then hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. Right, so I always say this in class, what does that mean? Right, you want the outer edge of your shoulder in line with the middle of the wrist, and then the vertex of the V with your peace fingers also pointing to the middle wrist. What this does, it gives you a little bit of external rotation at the shoulder. It will give you lots of space, right? Today is all about shoulders. So let's make sure that we're not too close together. Nice and wide. Fingers spread really wide to fire up the forearms anytime you're bearing weight on your hands. And then as you inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back, broaden through the collarbones. Exhale, round through the spine. Really press it up to the sky. Inhale, slowly drop the belly. And exhale, round. So a few more of these really simple cat and cow undulations on your own time, on your own breath. Notice how it feels today. As always, maybe there's some other kind of natural movement that would feel so good to take here. A little wide of the tail from side to side, or maybe some barrel rolls through the chest. You might send your hips back toward your heels, maybe your nose or chest toward the floor. You could twist anything, right? It might not look like cat and cow, but just anything that feels good, waking up the body. Last couple breaths here. And on your next inhale, slowly come back to center. Little wiggle, a little shake, whatever you need to do to release. And then a little draw of belly button to spine. And come back to center. Plant your left hand. And as you inhale, peel the right arm out to the side, maybe up to the sky. As you exhale, sweep the right arm underneath the left. Don't get too comfy here. Inhale all the way back up, open to the right, and exhale, thread. One more time, inhale up, and exhale, thread. And then this time you might start to snuggle a little bit closer to the floor. For some of us, that floor can feel a long ways away, so you could bring a block underneath your head or underneath the back of your shoulder. And then get curious with this left hand. Sometimes it can feel really good to bring the heel of the hand into the crease of the wrist to get more traction on the right side. You might walk the fingertips up to the top edge of the mat or over to the right. Again, getting into that top armpit, but stay here for a few more breaths. And just see that beautiful opening through the back of the shoulder on the right side. A little bit of twisting through the spine as well. One more breath here. Bring your left hand back underneath your shoulder. Inhale, press yourself back up. Little wiggle or cat and cow. Release however you need to. And then we'll switch right away to the opposite side again. So right hand plants. Little draw off belly button to spine. Inhale the left arm up and all the way up maybe. And then exhale, thread underneath. Again, don't get too comfy. Inhale all the way back up. And exhale, thread. One more time. Inhale up. And exhale, thread. And as I said, right, one side can be so different to the other. So maybe you don't need a prop on this side. Maybe you do. I'll show you from the side, right? Again, you might bring the heel of the hand into the crease of that wrist. Some people like draping the top arm behind the low back. You could walk the fingertips up to the top edge of the mat or over to the left. Whatever you need to do. Right? A few more breaths here. Keep breathing into this lovely twist. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. Bring your right hand back underneath your shoulder. Inhale, press yourself back up. Little wiggle, cat and cow. Some of you might stay here, moving and grooving through a cat and cow. Some of you might choose to send the hips back, resting in child's pose. Some of you might choose to tuck your toes, lift the hips up and back into downward facing dog for a few breaths. My friends who are in downward facing dog, make sure that your hands are nice and wide. Spread the fingers wide, grip the mat with the fingertips. Couple more breaths wherever you need to be. Might be on just kneeling, might be seated. Last couple breaths. Wherever you are, make your way either to hands and knees or to to downward facing dog. My friends, in tabletop, little draw of belly button spine. If you're in downward facing dog, bend your knees, look forward. And then on your exhale, walk, step, hop forward into standing forward fold. So bend in the knees, and I never lock the knees out. So bend in the knees, sit bones back. And then you could grab opposite elbows with hands. You could sway a little bit from side to side. Some people might like clasping the hands behind the back. It doesn't feel good on my body, but go if you'd like to. You can even interlace the fingers behind the head to add more traction through the neck. Alternatively, maybe you're resting your elbows on your knees or thighs. Last few breaths here. And if your arms are bound, gently release them with fingertips to the floor, or maybe your shins, or maybe your blocks. Inhale, little partway lift, finding length through the spine. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more of those on your own time. Inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, let it all go. Two more. And then bend your knees. Tuck your chin in toward your chest. Head heavy, arms heavy. Slowly start to roll up to standing, one vertebra at a time. Knees bent the entire time. You can rock a little bit. So the very last thing that happens is the shoulders loop back, and then the crown of the head lifts. A little wiggle, a little shake out. If you're still rolling, keep rolling. That's all good. And then a couple breaths here, eyes open or closed, just breathe, notice whatever you notice. And then gently flick your eyelids open. Welcome, shake it out a little bit. And grab your strap or your dowel or your broom, whatever you have. We're gonna start with the hands nice and wide on the strap. And the thing I like about the strap is you get this feedback of if you've lost tension, right? So if you want to maintain tension the whole time, and then a little squeeze of belly, or the bum, belly bent to spine, and tall posture as you inhale. Lift the strap up overhead. Pause here. So the first thing that happens is we tend to lose the posture. I'm over exaggerating, but you know what I mean. So squeeze the bum, belly bent to spine, shoulder blades on the back. From here, start to bring the strap back behind you. So it's like you're the prow of a ship. For some of us, this is going to be where we stay. Some of you will start to bring the strap all the way back, maintaining tension the entire time behind you. And then you can either release the strap and bring it back in front, or inhale all the way back up and exhale forward. Now, at any point along the way, if you felt like you lost tension or your elbows bent, then take your hands even wider. If you feel like, Emily, no big deal, then take your hands narrower and we'll get a little bit deeper. So a few of these shoulder flossings. Inhale up, and then maybe you pause or bring it back down and just explore this movement, right? Those of you who do, again, Olympic weightlifting or CrossFit, you're going to be used to these. A few more breaths here. And the next time that you come forward, shake it out, release it out. And then come back to center. Let's take the hands a little bit narrower. So think your downward facing dog width, outer shoulder width apart. And a little draw of belly bent to spine. Inhale the strap up overhead. And again, find your tall posture. And then bring the strap back down behind the neck and inhale. And then slowly down, maybe inhale down and exhale up. Doesn't really matter as long as you're breathing, but tension on the strap the whole time. So this is less of a stretch and more of, you'll notice, firing up of the muscles around the shoulders, particularly the deltoids. Last couple breaths here. And inhale up. Exhale, release, shake it out, get the blood flow back to the arms. Okay. Come back to that same grip on your strap or on your dowel. Inhale up overhead. Pause here, think of lengthening even more. As you exhale, send over to the left. Send your hips to the right. Maybe a little micro bend in the knees here. Sometimes it feels good to come in and out of it a little bit. And as much as you're pulling down with the left hand, can you resist with the top hand? You really feel that into the armpit on that right side. You might stay here a little bit. Some of you might scoop the bottom shoulder under a little bit to lift up. Or maybe you bend the knees, tuck the tailbone on and around, pull over to the left a little bit more. Again, last breath here. And then inhale back up to the sky, shake it out again. And then inhale up overhead, exhale over to the right, hips to the left. So same thing, kind of get into it a little bit. Pull down with the right hand, resist with that top hand. Maybe go a little bit deeper, maybe not. Maybe you bend the knees, round through the spine, tuck the tailbone under. Maybe you lift the heart up a little bit higher to the sky. Last couple of breaths here. Good, inhale up. And then start to play with this. You can come all the way through. Maybe you go back. But we're kind of linking those shoulder dislocates with this side movement. Last couple breaths, going wherever you need to go, wherever feels good for you. And release. Shake it out a little bit. Whew. Shake out the hands. Sometimes you kind of start to white knuckle the straps or the dowels a little bit. Let's get into the arms a touch, but also the shoulders. So bring the strap into your right hand. Bend your elbow, and you can use your left hand to kind of snuggle that upper arm in toward your ear. And then I'm going to turn around and show you from the back. Reach around with the left hand to grab the straps. Now you don't have to walk your hands toward each other. They can stay quite far apart, but think of separating the elbows as you wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. For some of you, you'll feel good walking the hands closer toward each other. Sometimes it might feel good to think of pulling the strap back and away from the spine. A few more breaths here. All right, nice tall posture. Try not to let the belly pop out. Last breath here. And release, shake it out. We'll switch over to the opposite side, strap on the left or dowel even. Bend the elbow, snuggle it in toward the ear, and then reach around with the right hand. And then same thing, think of separating the elbows as the shoulder blades wrap toward each other. This is a beautiful place to stay. Maybe walk the fingertips toward each other. Maybe they clasp, right? You might not even need the strap. Maybe think of pulling the strap away from the spine a little bit. Last couple breaths here. And on your next inhale, release, shake it out a little bit. We've got one last thing going on with the strap, and then don't worry, we'll ditch it off to the side. Hands nice and wide again. And then inhale up to the sky. And then exhale, bring it back behind you. Oh, you know what? We should have just brought it behind us to start with. Anyway, let's take the hands a little bit narrower. So maybe outer hip width apart. And your hands, your palms can be facing back or facing forward. And if you know that one isn't going to feel good on your shoulders, then don't do that one, right? Do the opposite one, a little bend in the knees, and then come into a standing forward fold. Nice bend in the knees to start with. And then wrap the shoulders away from the floor. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other, and then inhale the strap up and away from the sacrum. You might reach it up to the sky, or maybe some of you to the wall in front of you. And you could be still here, you could take the hands wider, you could sway a little bit from side to side, but just make sure the shoulders don't dip forward, right? We don't want to compromise the space in the front of that joint. And then slowly bring the strap back to your sacrum. If you were palms facing up like I was, switch to palms facing down, or vice versa. Again, unless you know it doesn't work for you, wrap the shoulder blades toward each other, inhale, strap up again. And then just see, it might feel super different which way you're going. You might not notice any difference at all. A few more breaths, getting into the shoulders a little bit more. And then slowly bring the strap back down. Ditch it off to the side. A little release, a little shake out of the arms. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, lift up, part way. Exhale, let it go. Couple more. Inhale up. Exhale down. One last one. Good. Slowly bring your hands to the floor. Come to knees. Shake it out. Little wiggle. And then we'll come to a seated position. So anything that feels comfortable for you. Again, you could be on your shins, you could be cross-legged. I'm gonna sit up on a block just because I still can't get that deep flexion on my injured leg, but it's getting better. And we'll just get into the neck a little bit before we come down to the floor, and then we're done. So nice tall spine. Doesn't matter what the legs are doing. Inhale here as you exhale, gently bring your left ear to your shoulder. This might be enough for you. If you'd like more, you could reach your right fingertips away from you on the floor. Some of you might gently add the weight of the left hand to the head without yanking or pulling down. So maintain that tall spine. And the only flexion that we want is through the neck. A few deep breaths here. And then maintaining this lateral flexion in the neck, gently rotate your nose or your chin toward your shoulder. Tuck the chin under a little bit. So we're still getting the right side, but it's more posterior, more to the back. You might feel this down your arm. That's totally normal. Last few breaths here. And gently release your head, chin to chest. A couple little half moon circles. And come back to center. Let's switch to the opposite side. Right ear to shoulder. Maybe the left fingertips reach away. Maybe you gently add the weight of the right hand to the head. And then breathe into it. Ideally, you would do this for 30 seconds or a minute in each position every day. Some of you might feel like, who has the time to do that these days? While others might feel like, yeah, let's do that twice a day. Keeping that lateral flexion, rotate the nose or chin toward the shoulder. Different sides can be a totally different experience. Last couple breaths here. And gently release your head, bring your chin to your chest. A couple little half moon circles, a little head bob. Again, gently release. Before we bring it back down, I'd like to end the same way we began, with those sort of sweeping arm motions, and then just see if you notice any difference in your shoulders from when we began. So, coming down to seated, right shin in front of you, left shin out to the side. Again, you might be up on your hand or your forearm on a chip foam block. And then start to take those sweeping circles with the top arm. Maybe there's less clunking or clacking. Maybe there's the same amount. But probably it feels a little bit freer, a little bit more open. Last couple breaths here. And then let's switch sides, gently press yourself up. Bring the left shin forward, right shin out to the side. Again, you might stay up on a hand or come down to the forearm. And then start to breathe through those windmills on the opposite side. Last couple breaths here, just playing with that movement. And then gently press yourself back up. Sweep the legs forward, little windshield wiper at the knees. And then come back to either a seated position, or maybe you lie down on the floor and find a position of rest. That will work really well for you. My offering for you for your rest, if you would like to get into the chest and shoulders even more, is supported fish. If you have a bolster, imagine that this is a bolster. You set it up lengthwise behind your back, and then you can lie back on it. Now, sometimes this feels like quite a bit on the low back, so you could bring a chip foam block underneath your bum. Some of you might not have a bolster, and using the blocks isn't particularly comfortable. So what you could do is take, call it like a T-shaper pose underneath. So the idea is to bring one block right at the base of the shoulder blades, and then one block underneath your skull. I'll demo what that looks like. It takes a little bit of working to get into, but it's a beautiful heart opener, lovely place to stay for about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more. Legs could be outstretched. You might bring them into a butterfly position. Some people prefer just to have the knees bent, let them hang toward each other, wherever you need to go. For 3 breaths, inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh, and breath away. 2 more. And then continue breathing wherever you are, whatever position you are in. I'm going to leave you here for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely day. Namaste.